Hi guys, I am here with your next art lesson. So far this week we've been working on textured papers. So you did marbled paper with shaving cream and food coloring. Then we did bubble printing, where you used dish soap and food coloring and did some bubble prints. And then you also did some chalk printing, where you used sidewalk chalk or another type of chalk. We floated it on the water surface and then stuck paper to it. So what we can do today is use all those sheets that we've made and do a collage with them. That's something really cool to do with these papers. That's one idea. I'll show you how to do that. So let me get started. What you are going to need today are your sheets that you've made. So this was the one with the shaving cream, the marbled paper, where we put shaving cream down. These are all the ones that I did. So I have a bunch there. And then I showed you guys how to do bubble printing, where we used dish soap and food coloring. You blew the bubbles and then you set the paper down on top. So I have some of these that I did. And then I only did the one chalk printing. So the chalk is a little bit more, it's a little harder to see on camera, but that's where we scraped the chalk on the water surface and you set the paper down on top and pulled it off, and the chalk stuck to your paper. So these are what we're going to use today to do a collage with. So last week we did a fish collage where you cut shapes out of papers and then stuck them down to a background paper. We're going to do the same thing, except we're going to use our textured papers. So you need some sort of background paper, whatever you want to glue your shapes to. You can use white, or if you have construction paper at home, that would be fine. You need some sort of glue, scissors to cut your shapes out with, something to draw with, so markers, pencils, something like that. So I thought what we could do, you can use the papers and make any sort of picture you want. If you wanted to go back and do another fish picture with these, that would be completely fine. That's up to you. I'm going to show you a couple ways to do flowers, since I thought that was a nice spring activity and tomorrow is May Day. I thought that would be good timing. So I'll show you how to draw a couple flowers. So pick out a sheet that you would like to do some flowers out of. I think I'm going to use this shaving cream marbled piece. It has a lot of nice variety of colors in there. Now you can draw the shapes on the front, or you can flip it over and draw your shapes on the back. If you draw it on the back, when you cut out, your lines won't show as much. So that's something to keep in mind. So I'm going to use this one and show you how to draw some shapes. So the first one I'm going to show you how to do, we were working on right before school closed. So we did those huge Georgia O'Keeffe paintings, and I showed you how to make a petal shape. So we're going to do that. So if you remember correctly, it was just a smile and a frown put together, and that made a petal. So I see that most of my color is right down the middle. So I'm going to flip over and I'm going to draw right down the middle. So a petal, the center of the flower is a circle. So if you remember right, I had you guys do a circle. So I am going to do a circle. Not real big, because you got to remember how big your background paper is, and you want it to fit on there pretty good. So I just did a circle. Now, our petal shapes are smiles, and then a frown. So you do a smile, and then a frown, or a letter U, and a rainbow, whatever shapes you want to call them. So I'm just going to keep going down. You want like 4 or 5 petals for your flower. They do not have to be the exact same size. So smile, frown, smile, smile, frown. I'm going to do one more. So my flower has 5 petals. Smiles and frowns all the way down. And then I'm going to cut these out. So I'm going to start up here with my circle, which is going to be the center of my flower. And I have the center, and then I'm going to start cutting out my petals. Now when you cut, if it's easier, because there's a lot of paper here, cut off your extra paper. Save it though, because if you really enjoy making collages, that is good paper to use still, but it gets it out of the way while we're cutting. Same thing. Lots of color on there still, but I don't need it right now, so I'm going to set it out of the way. And that way you have less paper that you're trying to deal with as you're cutting your flowers out, or your petals out. If you wanted to make all your petals the exact same, if that's something that you want to make sure you have, then what you can do is draw and cut one out and then use that as a stencil. So just use that and trace that all the way down through to have as many petals as you want. I wasn't super worried about mine being all the same because, just like I say in art class, stuff outside in nature is not perfect. It is not all identical, so we don't need it to match. So now I have all my petals and the center for that flower. So I'm going to set that off to the side for now. And then I'm going to go through my paper and find another piece that I like to do a different type of flower. So I think I'm going to use this chalk painting. Actually, you know what? I changed my mind. I'm going to use, I'm going to use the chalk one, the chalk piece. So looking at this, I have a lot of color right in this area that I like. So when I flip it over, I'm going to kind of keep that in mind. So the next flower I was going to show you how to make is a tulip. So on your page, you're going to start with a letter U. A big letter U. And then the top, you're just going to do a zigzag. So you're going to go up and down. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Just a zigzag. That's a very simple tulip. I'll show you how to add the lines on the front for details to it when we get it done, but that's the outside shape. If you want a couple tulips, then you can do that again. A letter U. And then your zigzags across the top. Like that. It kind of reminds me of a dinosaur foot. So I got my two tulips. So now I'm going to cut those out. And remember, you can cut it down. And get all this extra paper out of the way for now. And then just cut your shapes out. So I always do this edge first. And then for when you're cutting stuff like this, instead of trying to turn your scissors a lot, I go in, come back out, and go in again this way, and cut the little triangles out. That way, you're not trying to turn your hand, and then you have a tulip. So I'll set that one down. Cut out my U. Like that, and then I'm going to cut out my triangles. If you need help cutting, certainly ask. I'm sure there's someone at home that can help you. There's my tulip. Slide the scraps off to the way. Now you can add anything else to your picture that you want to. If you wanted to do a sun up in the corner and some of your paper has a lot of yellow on it, you can do that. If you wanted to add grass along the bottom, you could do that. So I think this piece right here has a lot of green in it. So I think I'm going to cut strips out of this and use that as my grass along the bottom. So for the grass, what you can do, if you want, is do a straight line like this. And then go up on the sides. And you can do zigzags like this. that is one way to do the grass. That's a lot of cutting though. So another trick that you can do that we do in class a lot is when we do the ground, I usually just have you do a curved line like that. And we cut that in half and use that as our ground. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Cut right on that curve line. And then you can look at both pieces, decide which one you like the best. I kind of like this one, so I think I'll save that one, and I'll show you how to measure that on your paper. Now, your background, you can use white if you want to, or you could take one of your sheets that have designs on them, and this could be your background. So I think I'm going to use, I like this one a lot, the blue and the red. This is what I'm going to glue mine to. So you can use white glue or a glue stick, either one. So I have all my parts and I'm going to start gluing. I want this to be my background. A little more color than just plain white. So to measure this, if we look, this is way too big for our paper. So I am going to arrange it on here like I like it. Glue it down, and then I'll trim the extra off. I'll show you how to do that. So we're going to add some glue. Get it lined up on here like I like it. Stick it down. And then on the back, you can see where it hangs off, and that's where you're going to trim. So you can take your scissors and just cut that extra off and use the paper as your guideline. That way you can choose the section of the paper you want to use, but you're not trying to trim it and measure it. So now if it's on there, perfect. You might need to go back in and add a little more glue if your glue stick doesn't stick well like mine. Okay, now we have our flowers to add on here. I'm going to start, before I glue on here, I'm going to set my pieces on the paper first, just to figure out how I want them to go. It's much easier to move them around before you glue than it is after you have glued. You can't really pull it back up. So I'm going to play with these, figure out where exactly I want all my flowers to be. And then when I like it, I can start gluing. So I kind of like these, how they're sitting on here. So I'm going to glue these down. I haven't done stems yet, and that's okay. There's a reason. I want to give you guys choices. So I'm leaving everything on the paper and then just taking the pieces off and adding glue. That way I still know where the piece is supposed to be. Set these on here. You don't need a lot of glue, it's just hooking paper to paper. Here's my last petal. And then I'll do the center right on top. There we go. Okay, now you can do your stems a couple ways. You can use another piece of your paper if there's a lot of green on it. If you have construction paper at your house, you can use regular plain paper. Or if you don't have any of those, that's completely fine. You can use a marker or crayon and just draw in your stems. That's fine too. So that's what I'm going to do. So a stem is just a line down, and you want to make sure it touches your grass. So just do a line down. A leaf, you can do that same smile frown shape. So you can do a smile and a frown, and then you can color that in. if you want to add a leaf. So you do a line down, another line down. That's how you can do your stems if you want to. Add some leaves. If you want them thicker, then just do another line right next to it. And you can do your smile and your frown on these to add some leaves. And then you got your stems. Now what I'm noticing is that these tulips kind of fade into the background. So what you can do, if you want them to stand out, is take a marker and go right around the outside edge, kind of like an outline. And that'll make those stand out. Plus it adds more color. To add your detail lines to the tulips, see, it makes them pop off the page more. You're just going to start at this middle V or middle triangle. You're going to loop down this way and then bring this in to meet it. So start here at this first indent. You're going to curve down to the bottom and then go over to this next indent and curve that one down to there. Add some detail lines to your tulips. Now if you want, you can add more details with markers or crayons, whatever you have. If you wanted to put a sun up here, if you wanted to draw some animals, some insects, you are more than welcome to. If you did your background as white paper, your extra stuff would stand out a little bit more. So you can add in, if you wanted to add in more flowers, whatever you want to do. But you can make a nice collage picture this way. And like I said, if you wanted to do a different picture other than flowers, certainly you are welcome to do that. If you do a collage, please post a picture. I'd love to see what they look like. We are in the process of thinking about doing a virtual art show. So if you have pictures of your artwork, hold on to them. That would be great. Then we can add them to our art show. Okay? Have fun, guys. See you later.